Welcome, welcome, everyone. I know Sergio said wait 10 seconds. It's terribly difficult for me to count for 10 seconds. Welcome, everyone, to the main event. We are actually joined today by the amazing Paul Brouillette. We're so excited to have you, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a short 30-minute interview style session that we'll be having with Paul today. So we're just going to jump right in. Hi, Paul. Welcome.
Hey, Farah, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
No, it is our absolute pleasure. So we'll start right at the beginning. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and what drew you to real estate to begin with.
Well, I'm second generation real estate practitioner. My dad was an investor, and my mother helped to build that company. And that started back about 75 years ago. And my son's now third generation working with me to participate and carry it forward.
That is really wonderful. So my question for you based on that is, initially, because you're second generation, did you fight it or were you interested in real estate or you kind of just went along with it initially because it's something your parents did?
I actually worked in that business till I was in my late 20s, and my dad owned a small real estate sales organization, but his primary work was to build an investment company. And so that investment company, which is still in place today, was put together over a course of 5 or 6 decades. And so I actually retired from that when I was in my late 20s, and I taught school for about 5 or 6 years. I was a teacher at Lowell Catholic and also at University of Lowell for 5 years and mathematics. And then I segued into real estate sales when I was in my mid 30s,
Oh, wonderful.
about 40 years ago.
Mathematics, that's
Yeah.
a super crazy subject to teach. You have
Yeah.
to be really smart.
Yeah. It was a toboggan ride, but here we are. So we're having fun.
That's a bombing, right? So you've been in real estate for a really long time. What has kind of kept you passionate and reinvigorated with real estate?
One of the great things about being in this profession, Farah, is that it's constantly a learning experience. You get to know people. You really get to know how to work with people, how to understand people, how to persuade people to do what's in their best interest, and how to make them feel as though they're doing what's best for them because of the guidance and support that we provide as professionals.
And that is such a great answer because it touches on what we were talking about today, which is creating and maintaining these great real estate relationships that you've had all of this time. So you shared that you're a math professor. How do you feel? Well, I can tell how it would impact real estate, but how do you feel you being a math professor has impacted your real estate career?
Well, two things primarily. Number one, being a teacher is a practice in which you improve your skills in communications. That makes sense?
Yes.
And secondly, because we work in the real estate business and because we're always dealing with changing prices, environments, interest rates, et cetera, having a professional background in mathematics enables me to have a higher caliber of expertise in pricing properties, advising people as to how commissions can impact their sale, and anything that has to do with evaluating property using mathematics. Those are some of the skills that we all develop. But having been involved as a teacher for 5 years at the college level really gives me a pretty sharp edge in terms of helping my clients.
And also possibly communicating those types of information to your clients as well, especially because you were a teacher. It kind of all kind of balls into one where it's just a really awesome combination.
Yeah, makes
That's
sense.
amazing. Can you share a time when so we were beginning this conversation about building client relationships, and you touched on communication and learning that skill through being a math teacher. Can you share what is your secret to building trust with your clients?
That's a great question. Um, Basically, without going into a long dissertation, it's a matter of asking lots of questions, finding out what people's real needs are, finding out the most important elements to their big picture situation, and supporting people, even if it's unusual what they're looking to do, making people feel good about what they're doing, uh, building a relationship of trust with lots of communication, asking lots of questions, and at the bottom line is to always tell the truth, even when they don't want to hear it.
Oh, I love that one. I think that is pivotal for all relationships, is telling the truth, and even when people don't want to hear it. And it goes back to your communication skills, because sometimes it's about delivering bitter medicine with a smile. So I think that is really awesome as well.
Well put.
Can you share a time that your ability to create these strong type of client relationships led to like an unexpected opportunity?
I thought about that, and I've got a fun one.
Okay.
Before I got into selling real estate, an old friend, Rod Claremont was his name. His dad and my dad were great friends, and they were business friends and partners, etc. So he said to me that while he was working as a broker in New Hampshire, he said that he thought I might like getting into the sales business. And he shared some of the crossover between what I did as a property manager and what he was doing as a salesperson. I said, yeah, that's a pretty easy segue. And so after I got into sales, probably 15 years in, which would have been 25 years ago, I hadn't talked to him in 5 or 6 years. So I was prospecting, and I went through my database and called Rod. I said, hey, Rod, how you doing? And he said, fine. I said, how's business up in New Hampshire? He said, we're building some freestanding condominiums, and we've got a couple of 30 and 40 unit developments. And I said, how's it going? He said, it's going great, except we have a problem. I said, what is it? He said, most of the people coming up here are coming from Massachusetts. And when they sell their home, half the time they can't buy because their deal falls apart. I said, well, can I help you out with that? He said, we'd love it. He said, would you be willing to take a 25% referral on any of these sellers who need to sell in order to buy up here? I said, great, let's do it. And over the next 5 years, we handled between 60 and 75 sales for him as a result of that prospecting call.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
First of all, it's amazing that you maintain that relationship, because sometimes I think agents don't see sometimes the value in maintaining relationships that are not immediately fruitful. And so that's awesome that you maintain that relationship. And good on you. That seems like a lot of business.
It was, and it was a lot of fun doing it, met a lot of people. And that was taking prospecting past clients to the next level, because I was actually prospecting a past friend who happened to be an agent. And we can't dismiss the importance of elevating and encouraging the benefit of professional relationships that we can develop with other agents, agents within our layer family, agents that we do co-brokes with, and agents that we meet around the country that we can exchange referrals with. So keeping those relationships strong is just as important as keeping past client relationships on the right track. Does that make sense to you, Farah?
Yeah, no, it really does. And I'm so glad you said it, because I think those are the relationship that a lot of the time agents perceive as most easily dismissed, is the ones where, well, oh, I don't have to call him. He's a realtor already. He doesn't need my help. But to your point, you never really know. And it's just valuable to maintain it. And I think the other thing that you was really cool is that you kind of took the prospecting a little bit further. Doesn't mean you're calling him once a week. No, but as you're prospecting and you're going through your database, it's good to be able to reach out and check on people at least once or twice a year. So I think that's awesome as well.
Thank you.
Amazing. How do you turn, speaking of which, right? How do you turn, therefore, a one-time transaction into a lifelong client relationship?
Great question. So the first point is that we follow up after the transaction, probably a week or two after the transaction. Many times what we do is we provide our clients with a really special closing gift. And that is something that can be well received. If someone lived in a home for a long time and they get a picture of that home done by an artist, that can really lighten people's experience up. But more importantly, what we do is we speak to the people probably a couple of times per year, past clients. We also have a newsletter that goes out to our top 900 past clients. I send out a viral video twice a month, which I produce a video and send it out to clients. And just keeping in touch with people and having a value added piece of information to share with past clients when calling them is a very, very important way to keep that relationship growing. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. And I think one of my favorite things that you touched on without saying it is sustainable and repeatable practices that you do all of the time. And you pretty much have created some really successful follow-up systems, which again, I think is a lot of the time people fall short with the follow-up because they will follow up with a great gift and they will do some great short-term follow-up right after the transaction is over. But you're talking about some really great long-term follow-up systems that are really awesome. And not to mention, while you're prospecting, keeping that person in your prospecting loop is also really, really good. I like it. You sound awesome. You sound like you're doing everything just the way we recommend. What do you think most agents struggle with when it comes to working with other clients?
I think that sometimes agents feel as though securing the business is the objective of the relationship. And
Mm,
most people, when they're selling a home, it's one of the most significant financial decisions in a lifetime. So it's a really big deal for clients, which is why prospective clients will interview two, three, five different agents before making a decision. So one of the challenges that I think is important for agents to keep in mind is to always remember that the clients want the conversation to be about them, not about the
mm.
agent. When an agent walks in and says, "Well, I'm number two in my company, and this is my resume," and they spend 15 minutes talking about themselves, that is a conversation that is just not going to be worthwhile to the client. On the other hand, if an agent, even a new agent, walks into a client and asks, what is it that you need? How can I make this situation fabulous for you? What is the ultimate goal that you have? And when an agent asks question after question and lets the client do the talking, that's one of the huge mistakes that agents make, I think, including myself. And when that reversal comes from listening instead of talking, that is a
Hmm.
very powerful resource to use in communicating with prospective clients.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that you really hit the nail on the head is that listening, because I think a lot of the time we all feel, no matter what field you're in, that you kind of have to, fill the space, that you kind of have to prove yourself. But I think as you grow in confidence in your expertise, if you can just relax and let the person talk and ask great questions and have a great conversation, I think that is really, really important. So let's flip it because this is one of the questions I ask every single time we do this interview because I think it's really, really important. How do you handle difficult clients or situations while maintaining professionalism? And are they typically clients that you can maintain a relationship with after the transaction is over?
Great question. So almost every transaction, Farah, has an issue, a challenge, a problem that needs to be resolved. And almost inevitably, there's one point in the transaction where there's some tension between the agent and the client. Agents have to remember it's not about us, it's about the client. Just like when a doctor's working with a patient, it's about the patient, it's about getting the patient healed. In this case, it's about helping the client solve their real estate challenge. So it's not about the agent, it's not about us. We need to remember that. We need to not take things personally when things go sideways, even if the client makes a mistake or a vendor makes a mistake or another agent makes a mistake. We sometimes have to just swallow our pride and make sure that we serve people at the highest level and that we keep an even keel emotionally. Mike Ferry, who's my real estate coach and mentor for the last 35 years, says we need to keep our emotions between the lines. We also need to be the calming force in the storm. We have to recognize that going through a transition with a home, and particularly when you're buying another property, can be one of the most stressful experiences financially and personally that a person goes through in their life. So our job is to help them through the transition by being supportive, by not taking any of the negative fallout personally, and by maintaining a high level of integrity and a positive disposition throughout the process, and helping people feel good about situations, even when they go south, even when it involves a loss in money or when things don't go the way they should have.
That's an amazing answer. I also think a positive disposition would probably solve most of the world's problems anyway. It's a really good way to go about everything,
Yeah,
honestly.
you get a lot of mileage out of it for sure.
You do. So, what strategies, you did kind of touch on this a little bit, but I want to see if there's other strategies that you utilize as well. We touched on the follow-up portion. What are some other strategies that help you maintain a really strong referral business?
Great question. I have for 25 years belonged to a group called Business Network International.
Mhm.
And I meet with a group of about 30 professionals every week. Matter of fact, this morning from 7 o'clock to 8:30, I met with my group here in Chelmsford, and we refer business to one another. So last week, I got a call from a past client who wanted to put an addition on. I referred her to Tony, who does additions. He's a builder in my group. I also have an attorney that works in my group by the name of Cormac. He had past clients who were moving to Pennsylvania. He referred those people to me after they'd spoken to several agents. And because of his referral, I secured a business, a property listing locally. It's a terrific listing. It's a beautiful home in Westford. It's priced around 1.2 million, and that'll go live within the next week or two. So that Business Network International affiliation that I have actually is responsible for about 29% of my business. This is just a chart that I have, which illustrates the various sources of business that I generated over the course of the year. This is from 2023. But the breakdown of this is that past clients, centers of influence, results in about 39% of my business activity. Business Network International generates about 29% of my business activity. And then there are past clients, then there are referral, exchange, home light, and various other referral companies that, that account for 5 or 10% of the business. Sphere of influence is another 13%. So basically I track where my business comes from so that every year I can focus more time, energy, and financial investment on the areas that are the most lucrative and that are most successful.
You just blew my mind a little bit because the math teacher-ness of the pie chart, I wish we all did that. That's amazing that you're able to track where all of your business is coming from. That's such a huge deal because now you can double down on your financial and emotional investment to the right places because you know where your business is coming from.
Exactly. That's one of the lessons from coaching. I know a lot of the people in our company do that, but for people who don't do it, it's a great idea to start tracking your business so that at the end of the year, you know where your business came from and you can focus your energies in those areas proportionally so that you can continue to expand your business model.
That I absolutely, absolutely love it. Thank you so much for sharing. So let's
Absolutely.
pivot a little bit
Sure.
about talking about providing exceptional service, because obviously I do think this is a part of building client relationships is the fact that you provide amazing service. What are some small, impactful things that agents can do to make clients feel value? And I want to break it down to 3 sections: prior to the transaction, during the transaction, and we kind of touched on after the transaction. So let's focus on the first two.
Okay, so prior to the transaction, before I go out and meet with clients, I will typically provide them with what's called a pre-listing package. This is part of the training and teaching that comes from the Mike Ferry sales system. And a pre-qualification, a pre-listing package will have information about their property. It'll have information about their property value. It'll contain a market evaluation of the property, preliminary market evaluation. It'll also contain some information about myself, my team, and our staff, and some of the services that we provide through Lay Realty. That's before the transaction. When we get into the transaction, from the first meeting, I find that in the first meeting, that's a question and answer meeting where basically I want to find out what people's needs are, what their timetable is, how I can help them, what their ultimate destination is, and how can we seamlessly get the property on the market, get it sold, and provide the services that they need in the timetable that they want. And that's really a process of asking all of the right questions. So that simplifies pretty much those 2 steps.
That is really, really wonderful. And then for the after the transaction, you do your follow-up, you do a great closing gift. Is there anything else that you do?
One of the things that we oftentimes forget to do is at that point, particularly when people are very satisfied with the transaction, we ask them for a testimonial, which we can share in our Google database. We also will ask them if they would be willing to replace themselves. Would they be willing to refer their family and their friends to us going forward if they were satisfied with the transaction? And people typically will do so. What many of us as agents forget to do is to ask our clients to refer business to us. So that's something I'd recommend that everybody really, sharpen their pencil on.
Yeah, no, I really like that one. We talked about staying in touch with past clients without feeling like you're just selling to them. Can you go a little bit more? Because this is more along the lines of follow-up, but how do you keep following up without it feeling like I'm constantly trying to sell something?
Great question. Two things. Whenever I reach out to someone, I want to bring something to the table that is of interest to them. Either a trend
Mm,
taking place in the market, it might be a shift or a surge in the market going down or up, or one of the market areas that might be really hot at a given time. It could be investment properties. It could be that there is something going on with condominium expansion in a certain market. Any kind of a value added piece of information really helps people to feel as though we're keeping them up to speed with what's going on. And the other important part of it is to just ask a few questions, find out what's going on with them, because it's really always about them, even in a follow-up call.
very cool. Um, Two questions. You touched on this before, and I kind of want to see if you have another answer. Number one, what role does technology play in maintaining your relationships? Like, and kind of how has that changed? Because you've been in this business spanning decades. So I'm sure you started somewhere and technology played a different role then than it does now. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I remember negotiating with Jurgen Keller, my first broker, on asking him to get a fax machine. I also worked with my parents back about 45 years ago and asking them to get the first computer, which took a few years to do, and they're still using it today. Uh, but
What?
but the bottom line is that when I was first a real estate salesperson, Farah, we had to drive to the board office to get the listings every day. So today, young people coming into this business have no idea that the information that's at our fingertips, which is not only information about the properties, but public record access, pictures on Google so you can see the property before you get there. You can actually generate automated comps, Zestimates, RPRs. There's so much powerful information technology that it almost makes real estate agents dispensable, which is why a lot of people, as sellers, they oftentimes will either pursue a for sale by owner process, and many times they can reach out to clients without the benefit of having a real estate agent. So there are pluses and minuses with that. I think it's very important for us as agents to recognize that even though the tools of technology are extremely powerful and beneficial, that being able to provide the kind of knowledgeable support uh, in a professional manner with clients can really elevate their experience and elevate their end results price wise and service wise to a point where it's very much worth their while to invest in a commission to get the job done at a high level of success.
And it sounds like it's almost like a double-edged sword to your point, because now people feel a little more capable that they don't necessarily need a realtor, even though it's easier, right? It may not be for the best. That's
That's
really,
that's
really.
that's true.
So I only have a few more minutes with you. I know you answered this one kind of before. I want to see if you have a different answer, like I said before. Have you had a client relationship that completely changed the face of your entire business?
I have a sort of I don't have a specific personal experience in mind, but I have a category of issues that occurred in miscommunication with clients because of the fact that myself and my staff earlier, probably 20, 25 years ago, we would communicate with clients at a very high level by email. And I found that by doing that, oftentimes an email message, especially when the person receiving the email is under stress or very upset or has a problem, that email communication would blow up deals. And what I found is that in order for us to really maintain the highest level of communication with clients, to supplement email communication with phone calls, talking to people, asking the questions, keeping in touch with people that are clients, a minimum of once a week. You know, the NAR does studies on what we do as real estate agents. And do you have any idea what the biggest complaint is that that clients have about real estate agents? You know what it is, Farah?
Not enough communication.
You got it. You nailed it. That agents sign a listing, and many agents, myself included on this call, will go 2 or 3 weeks without communicating with the client. And the client's thinking, look at how much money they're charging us in commissions. And we haven't heard from them in 3 weeks. I spoke to my real estate coach this morning. He's closing on 3 commercial properties this Friday. And he said his attorney, who's actually done dozens of deals with him, has not communicated with him for the last several weeks. He's ready to make a transition. So the bottom line is people who hire us need to have a continuous stream of positive and supportive communication. And you can never really communicate too frequently with the client they're representing.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge proponent of communication and communicating frequently. And I love that you added in there positive communication, that you're reaching out. And I think this is something that can easily be systemized, right? That we do weekly touch bases with all of our clients on Thursday via an email that we created a template. Like, I think just those small changes can, to your point, really save a deal. I only have a few more minutes with you, but I want to hear, do you have any final words of wisdom for agents looking to elevate their client relationships?
I would say that probably the one thing that agents can do to elevate their client relationships is to go the extra mile and being nice to people, to being informative to people, to recognizing that clients have emotions as well, and they have needs, and they've got a lot of other things going on in their lives besides the real estate transaction. So to be basically friendly and supportive without crossing the line with people is critical. And one of the questions that I'll ask people when I'm in the early stage of relationship, Farah, is if you could wave the magic wand, what would this real estate transaction look like? If you could actually wave the magic wand and have everything take place in a really perfect, ideal universe, what would that look like? And then strive to make that the reality for the person that you're dealing with.
I think that's so genius. You know why? Basically, it gives you an outline of what their expectations are going to be for the entirety of the transaction, and immediately gives you notes on, okay, I have to do this for this person to be happy throughout the transaction. That's really great.
Awesome.
Well, Paul, I really, really appreciate your time. I had such a great time. I always enjoy these conversations, and you are no exception. Thank you so much for sharing so much of your wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much, Farah. It's been a great time, and I wish you all the best. Keep on doing this. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Everybody.